be part of the organizing of many things. So Andrew, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. And I am going to share my screen. All right. We are going to go into present mode. All right. So I sort of just want to introduce myself. Like, I'm Andrew. Like, I'm probably the first like non-Chicago sort of artist. Like, I'm not really from the Chicago area. I was originally born in Maryland, and yeah, like so. With that in mind, I'll sort of start where I really began. Oopsie. All right, so where it all began. I came from a small town called Parsonsburg. I could put a picture of my house, but that wouldn't have sufficed. Like, really, this sums up my hometown in a nutshell. Like, this was just where we got everything and all that. Like, to give you in retrospect, like, my hometown had like 78 people. And I come from that. I'm from like the country, like the hardcore middle woods country where civilization just gone. So, what sort of got me like into art? Well, it was sort of several things. Like my art is nature oriented and has to do with a lot with nature itself, but I found the sort of piece, like the first piece that I really started appreciating art and everything was the piece on the right. Like that piece, believe it or not, is by the guy who actually invented Smokey the Bear. He actually made this drawing for my father and gave it to him. And with that, like I've always had sort of a strong appreciation for nature and everything. My father really embellished it. Like my father's a forest firefighter. Like I always used to go trips on them, and I've seen a lot of this country. So I've always taken us been able to take a step back and appreciate everything. Like a big sort of component about my art is that I appreciate the small things in life, like something as simple as a flower or an animal or a beautiful scenery. Like I'm more of a a glass half full kind of person, and I always try to go, well, we still have this, we still have that, like a sort of feeling good with that. So, with that in mind, what sort of ways do I work in? Well, to start, I work in drawing and painting. Like that was my sort of primary that's why I went to art school for. I went to Towson University and I've worked in charcoal, I've worked in watercolor, I've worked in drawing. Like I've had pieces featured not only in Chicago, but I've had pictures featured in Baltimore, and I've had pieces featured in Austin, Texas as well. And I've always sort of done that. That's always been sort of my main sort of focus. But when I started meeting, when I met Lakey, he kind of started showing me another sort of aspect to art. Like, how do I really get myself out there? And I started by I started dabbling with chalk, and he kind of showed me, hey, this is another great way you could sort of put yourself out there. And when I started seeing Rob, what he was able to do with chalk as well, like it inspired me to go, hey, like I have some sort of background. He kind of taught me how to sort of blend the chalk. I'm sure a lot of people just want to see art and just see something nice for a change, just something to give them a sort of pleasurable feeling, and sort of show more of my chalk art pieces. And yeah, a couple of these like the pieces, the praying hands that got featured in a gallery recently, and that was the Agitator Gallery exhibit. And yeah, like, and the one with the Sora Garden that actually got featured with a book. Like, someone was going around neighborhoods and they were trying to find the most beautiful aspect of that neighborhood, and they took it upon themselves to find, oh, that piece of art was the most beautiful thing. And that's really the sort of primary purpose. Like, I want people to what. And a sort of another aspect that I've also been heavily involved in was Instagram. Instagram has shown me sort of a wider audience and range. Like, I've met some very interesting friends in other industries. I've been able to talk. I've been able to promote my artwork that way. I've been able to sell my artwork that way. And I've used YouTube not as much to show the more like performative aspects of my art where I'm actually making my pieces, but I've been able to sort of like promote sort of other ways and use sort of other digital tools with my art. And what sort of do I see myself doing in the future? Well, I started like getting like I was fortunate that like my new roommate is also heavily involved in spray paint and sort of doing this, and he started to invite me to be involved with spray paint and sort of getting engaged with that. And another sort of thing, like Flash gave me an opportunity to make a mural with Project Logan, and I want to see myself where I can do this. Like, I like the sort of feeling of spray paint because it's an instant, but there is a lot to desire, and of course, the hairpin on the stained glass. That's another sort of element I would like to sort of explore. And yeah, I'll open up with a question there. All right.
Tracy, you're muted.
Yeah. Hi,
Zoom.
Brett.
Hello.
So everyone, if you have questions for Andrew, this is the time.
I guess to jump it off though, I really when you showed your chalk work, it made me think about the last time I think I saw you. We were at in the park. It was like at the one of the last like studio days in the park, and you were doing a chalk piece on the walkway, whatever, in Palmer Square. And I guess I was just thinking more about like, so do you like doing chalk stuff as a point of engagement? Because I remember you were talking to a lot of people as they were you were working on something.
Yeah.
I forgot what were you working on that day?
I think I was making a sort of kind of Renaissance-y, impressionist kind of piece, like
a woman, though, right?
But like something that, like, yeah, that sort of particular area is like, I call it my little like work walkway, because like I've sort of noticed in that park in general, like I get a lot of engagement when I'm making this stuff, and like my pieces sometimes, like I don't mind sort of interacting and people asking me questions, and people will come up to me like, hey, that's amazing, but like, and I show them stuff and I show my process. Like, there's a part of me that's like, because I work in education, so I'm always like, okay, like I can answer this question and I can show you, I can teach you my method to my madness. And yeah.
Super cool.
Dan, oh, I'm sorry, Tracy.
Go ahead.
So it seems you're
Hey, I want to ask you,
ephemeral or temporary.
I've never gotten to ask you this before. How do you think that your art has changed from when you first graduated from college to now?
Oh yeah, there's a lot I could add to that. Like, college sort of gave me the tools to apply it, but like as I sort of like when I came to Chicago, like being exposed to so much talent, like I've always wanted to, I've always tried to top myself and everything. Like, a big thing that I do is I overwork my pieces, but I'm starting to learn to let go and going, okay, this is kind of like I need to let go of this and I need to be patient with this. Like another big thing is like watercolor teaches you to be patient, and there's aspects of it that will come back to you to bite you if you're not. And it's taught me to be careful with my pieces a lot. And at the same time, like my line work has improved significantly. Like I can now draw more precise, and I've been able to even like the uncomfortable situations where like I'm trying to draw on the subway or something like that. Like my technique has gotten much more better over time with just doing that. Like I can sit there in 5 seconds and draw something, and yeah.
Does anyone
Thank you,
else?
Andrew.
Oh, does anyone else have questions?
Flash has a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Andrew, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. You painted at Project Logan, and you come from a town of 78 people. Okay, so as you know, the wall is going to shut down. How does it feel to be like one of the last artists that painted on that wall?
Oh my God. Like
I know that.
Oh,
I know that
anything.
60,000
Yeah.
people.
If anything,
Hi.
that was like such a big honor, because like the moment I've been in Logan Square, that was always a big like, oh my God, this. And like when you gave me that opportunity, I was just like over the roof. Like it's so weird that it's gonna just be turned into this building finally, and I'm just like, if anything, I'm more mad. I'm just like, I want more artists to get on that. Like that's like such a good staple of Logan Square. And yeah, like it's like so synonymous with it, and yet they're just gonna get rid of it. Like yeah.
It was never my property, but that's what we wanted to do. As you saw, we never said no to any artist. You're a perfect example where you only painted half the rows, and then I said, no, you got to do the whole wall. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
I
and then
like that you
I
encourage me to
I
do
find
that.
out you only come from a town of 78 people, and one of those three of those trains carry more than your town. So, I mean, that's one of the things that I always ask is, how does it feel to come, from that and then paint in an urban environment like that there?
It's
With the
yeah,
train.
like it's something that's like a transition to go from like to be around so many different people. Like when I was in my hometown, like I met my grandmother was down the street. Like I knew everyone from down the area. Like everyone knew everyone. Like the craziest thing is like the person who invented Kwanzaa, like I knew that guy's family. He was from my hometown too. Like we knew everyone. Yeah, like if I talk to the guy this day, I'll be like, "Yo, do you remember Parsonsburg?" He'll be like, "Yeah, exactly. I probably know your family too."
Wow.
And we run into in the world, but yeah, it's at the same time it's kind of like a bubble almost.
Uh-huh.
Like you're not affected by the world, but at the same time you're kind of protected to some extent. And yeah.
Yeah, that wall that left you
uh,
exposed, right? The wall left you
oh yeah.
feeling very exposed. That's
Oh
what I
yeah.
as an artist, everybody's looking at you, and I think it's too much. So I, as personally, I painted it even in the back, but when you're on that front, it's a different creature.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's like coming out of the woodwork.
Oh yeah.
I really
Like
appreciate what you're doing, and I think that no matter what, I like the way that you came across, and I like the way that you came forward, and that you tried, and that in the future I know that we can continue to work and do other projects. That wasn't
oh yeah. I
the last.
like
The
did it
walls,
to you.
to me, the walls just
Yeah.
a wall. There's other walls to paint in the city.
Yeah. I appreciate what you're doing in general. Like it's probably the one things I think that really like beauties up the sort of world. Like it's something I think the world sort of needs, especially right now, just to have something to be like. And I always appreciate those, just seeing those around the city. Like that's what I kind of like about Chicago. There's so much elements of that. I can always look around.
Just so everyone knows, they're talking about Project Logan, and recently, just this week, there was a article in Block Club Chicago about the fact that they have plans for the building, and actually, I shared a link on my Facebook, and it has a survey in the Club Chicago article about what you think about the new building and the new development. And Flash said that this week that they were like looking around and doing stuff at the spot because people were out there painting this week. And this wall has been around since 2010 when we did a community mural on it. And a lot of people in the community have painted on this wall. A lot of people who used to live in this community in Logan Square and now are coming back to the community to paint on this wall, but have been pushed out of this community because of gentrification. So it's a special wall to all of us, and we've been, you know, helping out Renegades of Funk and ABC Artistic Bombing Crew for the last 10 years. We store their scaffolds and ladders in our hallway because we're only a block away from the wall, or 2 blocks away from the wall, and it's something of a historic place, and I'm super sad to see it go, and it's not gone yet. And I think that Flash has been trying to make it go out with a bang.
Yeah, we really should. No, I mean that's some big Anysquared history right there. Because I remember when we got permission to do it, I was on my honeymoon in Walmart in Michigan, talking to the guy on the phone and kind of thing. And he was super cool, but I just remember this weird moment of being in Walmart, being like trying to, and it was like it was 2012 or no, fuck.
2010 is the first time we had permission.
Are you sure?
And then,
I think for the Project Logan side though, I think you're talking about the Badil side.
Oh, and then the other side we did in 2011 is when we did, like, Flash started doing the other side. And there's a Tumblr that is Project Logan, and it describes the history of it and how and Flash, you could describe this for us, but it's like from the beginning of the wall, we would clean up the site. There was always people dumping things there and stuff. And part of it is people coming to clean up the site. And Flash has done it. His daughter's done it. Anysquared came out a couple times to do it. It's like a whole community effort to keep that wall going.
Oh yeah.
You should unmute yourself, Flash, and talk about it.
I think the most important thing is to see that, you know, artists like I gave, and in a sense it's a graffiti wall per se, because I saw what they were doing on the south side. And on the south side, they rotated the walls a lot, and they weren't doing that in Logan Square, where I felt more of the history of what we were doing is that where we rotate the walls. And I never said no to an artist, and then that's the important thing, is that we opened it up to everybody, and I couldn't have done it. There is no Project Logan without Anysquared. Tracy now, you know, has the scaffolding there. We've gotten generator used from her generator. And these are all projects that we have done together, from the dog park to everywhere, where we have, I think right now there's 3 sets of scaffolds there.
There's 2 or 1.5.
Well, you don't know. There's 3 there. We still get another one, but like I said, I always thought and I always wanted to pull from the Anysquared artists to give them the opportunity to shine, because there's so much that everybody does with Anysquared, and that's the important part that I wanted everybody always to understand, that I wouldn't have had that wall if it wasn't for it fell into its proper place at the right time in my life. And that's why I feel like now I can let it go. It was 10 years that I called it Project Logan because I never thought it was going to be permanent. And we
Oh,
got
yeah.
Andrew on there, right, Andrew? That's all, and that's all. You know, to me, that mattered. In the year of pandemic, we kept it rotating, and in the end, we had a lot of Anysquared artists that came in and pitched in at the last minute.
Just recently, Tatiana, who was our Anysquared spotlight last week, organized a crew to go out there and do the center spot. And I know you brought a bunch of people out there to update the Halloween walls and make it holiday walls.
Well, I think the artists understand what's going on. That they, what do you call it? I don't think that's ever been done where they take Halloween characters and then make it into Christmas. And that's all the wall was always supposed to be, is for us to try to push that element of our art form. You know, do something first. You saw this year was the first time that they had back-to-back rollers on that wall, where it was one artist and he had to stay at home, and then they had the George Floyd, please don't shoot. And it happened so fast that I'm going to be reposting all this for the end of the year, because we did so much again that we missed it. You know,
Somebody, a photographer called Wayne Cable, took a photo of your the stay at home of Project Logan, and it's an architectural digest or journal or I have to share the link somewhere, and I will share it on Saturday.
It was used a lot. It was used so much, and
yeah,
I think that, I don't know, artists are always about the message, and we got to say a lot of message on that wall. Nobody was censored to the point that what we wanted to put out there was always positive, and keep the political side out there too a little bit.
well, I was glad that you did the George Floyd one.
And, but also, and then having the community mural though too, and there was like two major ones. And so I was trying to remember the first one. It was just flowers, right?
It was flowers, and it had a lot of kid drawings everywhere. And
Yeah.
I will share when we stream this some of the pictures on the stream
There you go.
of the old mural, the first one, and then the second community mural that we did in 2015 together.
Yeah.
So, and also, I next week, by the way, Flash is doing a Zoom with us, and he'll be talking about all the work that he's done. So it's awesome. And actually, I know that Robert had a question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'll have to answer that one. All right. So
What is his question? His question is, have you ever thought of doing a large scale chalk work, and would it be a collaboration? If so, would your who would your collaborators be, and where would your dream place be to do chalk art?
All right. So when I do my sort of
Andrew, you cut out. We cannot hear you. So wait a second. We cannot hear you.
There he goes.
Oh, shoot.
Can you repeat the last sentences? We didn't hear anything.
Oh, yeah. So like, Rose has always given me my sort of chalk art, but like, I've always sort of invited people to come out and collaborate with me. Like, I've always want to go bigger with the chalk art. It's just sort of supply, like, and so anyone's sort of welcome to come and sort of join me I've always tried to encourage that a little bit more, because it's such an interactive process, and it can bring in everyone. Like, Tom's done chalk art with me before. Like, he kind of knows how
on the expressway with a mask on, like a panda.
Yeah. And collaborators, my dream place, to be honest, like, there's one place I was able to do it. I've always wanted to do a really big scale downtown. Like, I did it once before with Lakey, and I want to revisit. It's near the fountain. I like that spot. The only downside is that, like, that sidewalk really grinds the chalk down so much, so I have to bring a lot to really make anything sort of big and sort of detailed.
Does anyone else have
Just,
questions? Andrea, did you have a question?
yeah. So you seem to like temporary or ephemeral art. So the process and the public aspect. So is that maybe more important to you than like the finished product, or because you seem to enjoy the process itself and
Oh
just
yeah, I like
another.
the sort of like step by step of it. Like there's a little bit of like, because I do like teaching people and I like showing my process as I go through it. I want people to look at it and go, okay, this is how he started, and I like seeing the start to finish aspects of it.
And you seem to be okay with the art being lost to rain or time.
Yeah, like it is temporary, and like I don't mind ever, like I want people to appreciate it and then to be on their sort of way. Like I mean, at the end of the day, like I enjoy making art, and that's a more important process to me of whether like if people sort of see it. Like I like that aspect more than the final piece.
Okay.
We're heading towards 8 o'clock, so I'm hoping that everyone can ask their questions that they've been wanting to ask, so we can wrap up.
All right, Tom, ask your question.
Yeah. How do you know? You must have been reading my mind. Since I know you a little bit, you often go to many of the museums around in Chicago, and it seems like you draw inspiration from the things that you see in the museums. What would you say would be your favorite exhibit or piece of work that you did at a museum?
Oh my God, like to be honest, I always lean towards the Field Museum because like there's such a friendlier atmosphere to actually make art there. Like the Art Institute is like you can't have this, this, and this, and like I'm just like, man, I want to go in there and draw stuff and like copy some of these people. But I'm just like that, but the place that's really fun to me is the Field Museum. Like I always like sketching the fossils, but the staff is always super friendly about it. In fact, there's a part of like the Field Museum where like it's almost you can literally set up tables and literally just draw the exhibits. And like I'm like a kid in a candy store when I go to the Field Museum. Like every time I go there, like I love I probably gravitate towards Sue because like it's something I've never seen ever until I moved here to Chicago, and I always try to copy it, and I always go to that sort of exhibit, sit down, copy. I'll sit down and take my watercolors, paint it, and yeah, I always want to keep pushing the envelope with Sue and see what I can make from it.
Cool, cool. I like it.
Does anyone else have a question? I see Rose does.
Yeah, I have to figure out how to work the Zoom here. Love your art, Andrew, and your enthusiasm too with chalk art. What would you say is your favorite or the mediums you really enjoy working in?
I probably my favorites are probably drawing and painting, like the pencil, charcoal, like painting. Like it was my sort of first, and it was the one that I always, growing up, I always gravitated towards. Like if my mom's still on here, like she used to watch me do some of this and everything. Like they have plenty of my pieces in person and everything. Like I probably say like one of my like favorite pieces I ever did in my entire life was probably when I did the portrait drawing of my grandfather. Like he passed away recently, but like it was probably like it was on the set of when he had his Alzheimer's, but his mind was still there. Like he would still recognize me. and I was like, all right, I'm never gonna have a chance to ever do this again. So I sat down and did a portrait drawing of him, and I gave it to him, and yeah, it was probably my most emotional piece I ever did.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. Appreciate it.
All right. Does anyone else have any other questions?
One last one.
All right.
Robert,
Can you hear me?
yes.
Yeah. Andrew, have you ever considered maybe asking the Field Museum if you could organize a night at the Museum of Drawing? When you were talking about doing that, I mean, that's what kind of came to mind, how cool it would be to organize a group of people, you know, to be able to go to different museums, maybe after hours, and be able to draw, you know, something that was in their museum.
Oh yeah, I've been ragging on the Field Museum to like do stuff. Like I have friends who like have done drawings for the Field Museum before, and I've been like I've been nudging on Instagram, be like, hey guys, like I'm drawing your stuff, like feature me, like let's talk art here. But like they get a lot of artists, and yeah, but I still keep nudging them to this day because I still want to. There's so many of those aspects. I'm just like I could promote this stuff. I know this stuff so well. Like I've I have a full like membership, so I can go just anytime now, and I just go down there and draw. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like the making of a potential program, you
Hmm.
know, that I could see young people all gathering at a museum and drawing. I mean, I'm kind of inspired to look into doing something like that. It sounds pretty cool.
Oh yeah, like it's probably like the bedrock of like just drawing in general. Like mankind has always tried to really like copy what they see. Like art comes from the term artificial, which is to replicate life. Like art goes from the idea of like how do you perceive life, and that's where it's sort of this like as the age moves forward, it's just to invoke a sort of emotion. And like I work with young people too, so I'm always trying to encourage them to be like, hey, like you could do art and it could lead you somewhere. Like i have I have friends who work in video games and do this. I'm just like, just keep at it. Like there are other ways you can go. Like make to me it's always sort of like beautifying the world as is. Like there's going to be places where people never experience going somewhere else. So but the internet sort of gives us a broad sort of horizon, and it gives that sort of exposure. And that's why I encourage the arts. It's probably like it's the best thing. It's kind of a weird thing too, because like art is so needed, but it's so not funded. Like it's always trying to be pushed out, but yet there's such a strong want for it. Like there's like, oh, why did someone make this mural? I'd be like, people like looking at this thing. If they didn't want it, then it wouldn't exist.
So we're gonna wrap up the recorded part of the talk, but everyone is invited to hang out with Andrew and all of us afterwards. And thank you, Andrew, for your talk. And we'll be
Yay!
yay.
Yay.
And we'll be having another talk next week with Flash ABC. Check social media for future Zooms and future streams. Next week, we're featuring Flash ABC. Thank you to Hairpin Art Center for being our streaming partner.